Are you ready to embrace a deeper, more intentional way of living? Introducing Deep Calls to Deep, Meditations for Your Spiritual Journey, Volume 1 by Brandon Andrus. Deep Calls to Deep offers 1.5 years of weekly meditations to inspire spiritual growth and guide you toward a more meaningful, embodied life. Order your copy today wherever books are sold and begin your journey into greater connection and purpose. Deep Calls to Deep. Let your soul awaken.
Welcome to the Unbelief Podcast, your journey, actually our journey together beyond inherited beliefs to a spirituality that works for you. I'm your host, Jeremy. I'm a deep skeptic, also a pastor. We can fix that later, right? No? You have reached the New Year's version of the Unbelief Podcast, and today we're doing something kind of different for the new year. We're doing sort of experimenting with a new type of episode called a ritual episode, where we're going to help you do something in the real world, in your life, that may turn into a spiritual practice or a ritual that helps you in whatever season you find yourself in today. And since we are in the beginning of the year, this ritual is really about setting intentions for the new year by doing some ancient practice that grounds you in reflection and helps you think forward. The practice is something called the Ignatian Examen, and this is a modified version of this for the new year, because at the beginning of the year, it can be incredibly helpful as a time of introspection and reflection. And I like to say setting intention, because the goal here is not to make resolutions, right? Resolutions are things that we break. They're something that it sort of becomes often out of our control, and sometimes we overreach, and we go to the gym for 2 weeks and then are saddled with the gym subscription for the rest of the year. But a lot of times those New Year's resolutions are not only sort of surface level and maybe high bars to clear, but they're not rooted in a deep introspection. It's like the end of the year and you say, oh, wow, I gained too much weight. I ate too much over the Christmas holidays. I'm going to work out. Or I know that dry January is a thing. Oh, wow, I drank too much over the holidays. I'm going to not drink for the month of January. And while those things are great, to be sure, the spiritual life is about a deeper connection, a deeper path that hopefully opens you up to a way of being in the world instead of just trying to start some new habit. And so when people talk about setting intention, it's not about finding a new habit or fixing some random problem, but it's about reorienting yourself in a new direction. And while that may end up working out in some new things you want to start doing, the goal is not doing the new things. The goal is the new orientation. It's setting your intention for the beginning of the year, what you want to kind of come into your life, what you want to put into the world. And if the habit, the thing that you feel like is the way that you're going to do that doesn't work, or you fall off a cliff with it, that's fine. You can find something else. But the goal is, on a regular basis to reflect on the intention that you have set for this new year. And we're going to start with that intention setting by using something called the Ignatian Examen. Now, this overall episode is actually probably going to end up being a lot shorter than the average episode. But what I'm hoping that you're going to do is that you're going to pause when I say to pause, and you will then do whatever that introspection piece is, and then you will continue on. But I know that not having a sense of where we're going can be unnerving to some. So we're going to do a real quick overview of the Ignatian Examen, this modified version for setting intentions in the new year. And then I'm going to guide you through it. And so I'm going to say, okay, we're going to do this first phase. I want you to pause. I want you to do this specific thing. And then we'll go forward. So, and by forward, I mean, we're going to have a little bit of a ritual for you to sort of place those intentions in your real world. But let's give you a quick overview of the Ignatian Examen, the modified version that we're going to be using. So that practice starts with you centering yourself in the presence of the divine, however you do that. And that's different for everybody, right? For some people, it's music. For some people, it's meditation. For some people, it's getting outside or lighting a candle. And so however you do that, and find a way to ground yourself and spend a couple of moments taking some deep breaths. And, you know, if nature's your thing, you can't go outside, just maybe open a window, right? Find a way to get yourself in that centered and calm space. And then you're sort of going to ask God, the universe, whatever, for inspiration, and you're going to pause. I should say at this point, at one point, it would be great to have your calendar, but you're not going to get out your calendar yet. So then we're going to ask you, where did you experience groundedness, centeredness, peace, or the presence of the divine in different locations, different aspects of your life? And so the first one is going to be your home. We'll ask you that, and then we'll ask you a question of like, where might you have gotten off track? I find that it is helpful to write these things down because later you will go back and reflect on all of this stuff. And sometimes I have a hard time, I have ADD, remembering the first thing that I thought about. So you're going to start with your home, then you're going to do your commute, then you're going to do your meals, and then you're going to do media and screens, and then your neighbors and friends. And then you're going to look at your calendar. You're going to go back to January. You're going to work your way forward and look at what you did, how your life was. And then we're going to ask ourselves if all of this sort of is a trajectory. This is where we are headed. If we don't do anything, we will continue down this path. Where are we going to head in the new year? Some of that's going to be good. So that's not going to be good. And you're going to pause because that can be a lot to reflect on. And you're actually going to sort of recenter again. And then you're going to ask yourself, where do I want to go in the new year, right? Which is different than where you think you're going, right? It's where I want to go. This is where we start forming and understanding the intentions that we're trying to set. And you're going to write that down. If you didn't write the rest of the stuff, you're going to write that down. And then you're going to say those things out loud. And you're going to then visualize yourself being those things. Then you're going to pause, breathe, recenter, and we're going to go through this other ritual that is based on this reflection and intention setting. All right. So if you heard, that means you probably need a couple of things. You need whatever it is that you need to get centered. You need a pen, you need pencil, some sort of writing implement, some sort of paper. If you've got a journal, that's great. Whatever you use for that. And then your calendar, if you can, that would be fantastic. Now, a lot of that stuff can be digital. That's fine too. Notes app and your calendar on your phone, that's really great. But let's go ahead and turn on Do Not Disturb for just a minute. Okay. Now, pause. Go get the things, and then I'm going to lead you through it. And I've given you overview, but it's going to be a little bit more words, a little bit more directed in the actual examen. Okay, I hope you actually did pause and go get the stuff. And so now, first step, I want you to center yourself in the presence of God, the universe, the divine, whatever it is that you do to center, the music, the meditation, outside, opening a window, lighting a candle, whatever it is, do that. Take 20 slow, deep breaths. And when I say a slow, deep breath, I mean breathe in slowly, hold it for 5, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, and then let it out by puckering your lips in a sort of kiss shape so that when you are letting out your breath, it just takes a while to come out. That you're not trying to hold it in, but as you let it out, it just can't go super fast. And then you're going to pause for a minute, for a couple of seconds. Then you're going to do that again 20 times so that you've given yourself enough time to actually get centered. So pause right now for the recentering. All right, now that we are back, I want you to use words out loud, or your spirit, or however it is that you feel like you reach out to the divine or the universe or God. And if you're not sure, then let's make the default our words, because speaking and hearing at the same time can have some very positive implications, some very positive effects on us for setting intention. So go now and ask the universe or God or the divine for inspiration. God, speak to me now. God, help me hear. God, help me see. Those kinds of feelings, emotions, whatever. Those kinds of thoughts are what you want to release into the world right now. So go ahead and pause and do that. Okay, now I don't want you to get your calendar out yet, even though I'm going to use some calendar words. I want you to start by thinking of yourself in your home, wherever home is for you, and that can be different places for different people, and it may have even been multiple places for you. But I want you to center yourself in your home, and I want you to ask yourself, where did I experience groundedness, centeredness, peace, or the presence of the divine in my home this year? And I find it's helpful to go back in your head to January and then February and work your way forward through the end of the year, asking yourself that. So go ahead and pause and do that. And now, staying in your home, I want you to take a moment, probably not as long as you took with the first, and ask, where might you have missed those things throughout the year in your home? Groundedness, centeredness, peace. Okay, pause and do that. Now, let's turn to your commute. Where did you experience those things? Groundedness, centeredness, peace, love, the presence of the divine in your commute. You might not have to go all the way back to January, but maybe you want to, and work your way forward. Where did you experience those things on your commute? Pause now and do that work. Now, I want you to flip to the negative side of that. And I want you to ask, where did you pass by too quickly to notice in your commute? Pause and do that work. All right, now, I want you to think about your meals. Where did you eat? What did you eat? And where did you experience groundedness, centeredness, connection, peace, love, or the presence of the divine when you were eating in your meals? Pause and do that work. Now, we'll flip to the negative side of that, still reflecting on your meals and your meal times. Where or when were you ungrateful? You may not have even noticed it at the time, but now when you reflect, you realize, yeah, that was one of those moments. Now pause and do that work. Okay, we're going to talk about media and screens. Where did you experience groundedness, centeredness, peace, presence of the divine through your screen? It's not all negative. A lot of people want to only talk about the negative of technology, but technology has both positive and negative. So where was the positive for you? Pause and do that work. All right. We're going to turn again to the negative side and ask this about media and screens for you. Where did you get drawn into the darker side of life and thought through the media and screens? The division, hate, the anger. Where did that happen for you in your use of media and screens? Pause and do that work. Now we're going to turn to people. And people have probably been a part of the things that you have been reflecting on, but we're going to look specifically at our neighbors and our friends. Where did they help you be grounded, experience peace, centeredness, the presence of the divine? And again, let's go back to January this time. Work our way forwards. When did your neighbors and friends help you in that? Pause and do that work. Now we're going to flip to the negative side of that, and we're going to ask, when did you fail to love those people? Pause and do that work. All right, now I want you to take out your calendar if you've got it. And I want you to ask yourself, where did you experience groundedness, centeredness, peace, or the presence of the divine? Look at your schedule. Look at what you did over the year. And look at how your schedule fostered those things. Remember, we're staying in the positive. Where did you experience that in the year? Just flip through your calendar and look at how those played out. Pause and do that work. Now we're going to flip to the negative side of your calendar. And we're going to ask, where were you not able to manage the changing of the tides, the ebb and flow of stress and busyness in your life? Oftentimes, life is not about balance. It's about paying attention to the tides, the in and out of it. So where did you miss the changing of the tides? Sometimes you miss the low tide and you don't take advantage of it. Sometimes you don't see the stress coming in and that happens. So look back on your calendar. When did that happen? Pause and do that work. All right, now I want you to look back on all of what you have said. And I want to ask yourself, if this is a trajectory, the good and the bad, where does this show me that I am headed in the new year? If I do nothing, if I stay on the path that I'm walking on, if I stay oriented in the same direction I'm walking on, where does this show me I'm headed in the new year? It will probably take a little bit of time. Take your time. Go slow. Map out that trajectory in your head, or maybe even on the paper. Pause and do that work. Right now, that has been a lot. So we're going to pause and recenter again, the same way you started this. We're not done yet. But recenter. Allow yourself to let go of all of this work that you've done before. Let it all pass out of your head for a moment. We're going to do that same process. Take at least 20 deep breaths as you bring yourself back to center. Pause and do that work. Now that you've recentered yourself, I want you to ask yourself, where do you want to go in the new year? Likely, there are some parts of your trajectory that you want to maintain. You are headed in the direction you want to go. And there are parts that you want to shift. All of those are intentions. It's not just the change. It is where you want to go. Sometimes on the same path, sometimes in a different direction. This is why intentions are different than resolutions. So, where do you want to go in the new year? And as you're doing this, I want you to be careful to not put the tasks, not the things you want to do, not going to the gym, but the intention, where you want to head, what you want to plant in your life in the new year. And this is a part where I really do want you to write these things down. The writing of them is really important. Pause and do that work. Now that we have looked at where we go, where we want to go, each of those things is an intention. It's what we are hoping to plant, to put out into the world, into the universe, as where we want to head. And we're going to do another practice that will help set those intentions. I want you to say them each in turn, out loud, slowly. And you might start with, I'm setting my intention. So you might say, I'm setting my intention. I want to be more engaged with my children. I'm setting my intention. I want to take time to rest, relax, recharge, and not just go from thing to thing. I'm setting my intention. I want to continue to lean into my friendships and relationships. We're not quite done. So take this step, pause, and do that work. Right now, I want you to visualize yourself one by one being those things in your life. Visualize yourself staying more connected with your kids, with your friends, whatever it is that you're trying to plant in your life in the new year. I want you to actually imagine like you would when you were a kid and the characters on Sesame Street would ask you to use your imagination. I want you to do that. I want you to visualize in your life how that happens. Now, this creative aspect of it will help you see things that you can do, things that you might try. I don't want you to write those things down. I don't want you to make a list of tasks. I want you to visualize it happening in your life. Pause and do that work. All right, we've done a lot of work together. So now it's time to bring ourselves back to center, ground ourselves in whatever we do, the music, the candle. Take 20 deep breaths. Now pause and do that work. Now, I told you that was not going to be the end. There is going to be sort of a ritual that we are going to do. And I would love for you to get out a couple of fresh pieces of paper, rip them out of your journal, however you need to do that. And I want you to make 2 lists. Look back over the work that you've done and write some negative things, the things that you missed, the things that were not part of the person you want to be in the new year. I want you to put that on one piece of paper. On the other piece of paper, I want you to write those intentions down again, clearly and succinctly. Pause and do that work. All right, so what we want to do is we want to have some sort of ritual that is destroying the negative and planting the positive. This can be a whole lot of different ways. And this is going to be most likely destructive to both of those pieces of paper. And so I would like for you to also make sure that if it's not in that first long notes that you took as you were doing that examination of yourself and of the last year, you might need to go ahead and write down those intentions one more time on something else so that you don't lose those. And then I want you to take that that negative piece and I want you to just figure out what feels like the most cathartic way for you to destroy it. You might want to rip it up into a bunch of pieces. You might want to throw it in the trash. You might want to take those pieces and burn them or whatever. But I want you to think of a way that you are going to destroy that. I'm not going to have you do it right now, but you're going to find a way to destroy the negative. And as you are doing it, I want you to just think of yourself as letting go. You're not going to blame yourself. You're not going to feel guilty about it. You're just like, look, these are the negative things. This is what I did. This happened. And I want to be different. I want to let these go at the start of this year. And I want to just bury them, whatever it is. And then I want you to imagine what it would be like to plant the good things in your life. And if you are a gardener, I would say you should actually plant it. Find some seeds, get a pot with soil, and go and put the seeds in or around that piece of paper and plant it and water it and put it in a place where you will see the growth coming, where you will remember that. If you're not a gardener, if you don't have a green thumb, don't do that, because it would be sad. It's such a pitiful metaphor to have the thing grow and wither and die, right? That's not the goal here. Another way that you can plant these intentions is to burn them. And I know that sounds destructive, and you may have decided to burn them in the destroying thing, but we're going to burn them in a specific way. And what I want you to do is make sure you can burn them in something that will hold the ashes after it's over. And so you'll get that piece of paper. You're going to light it on fire, and you're going to watch the smoke rise up as it burns. And you're going to imagine that smoke is sort of symbolic of you releasing these things into the world, into your life. And you want to say, out loud or in your heart or spirit or soul or whatever, in your mind, these are the things that I want in my life, that I am putting into the world. I am setting this intention. And then hold on to those ashes and put those ashes in a place where you can see them. You might even, when things get difficult, or maybe tomorrow, dip your finger in the ashes and put a little mark on your hand, or smudge it on a piece of paper that you're going to see. And so that it reminds yourself that I'm setting my intentions. I'm going to continue down this path. And then get that piece of paper that you wrote and you set them out and put it in a place where you see it. I know some people will tape it to their mirror in their bathroom. Some people will put it on Post-it notes on their bedside table, whatever. Find a place where you can see it regularly so that you are regularly engaging with setting your intentions. And so that when you see yourself getting off track, you might dip your finger back in those ashes and make some sort of sign or mark that will remind you of the person that you are trying to be. All right, so that is this intention setting practice for the new year. Again, we're not going to make a list of things we are going to do. We want to orient ourselves in a new direction. And that will mean thinking about it, being mentally engaged with that throughout the year. And obviously will likely mean continuing to do some good things that you've been doing and picking up some new practices that you want to do in the new year. And when those fail, when they don't work, when it feels like, I thought this was going to help me move in that direction and be this person, and they don't, just let it go. Or if it's not something that you can sustain, let it go. It's okay. You're trying to build a different life. You're not trying to do something specific. And so if you have chosen something that you're going to try to attempt and it's not sustainable, it doesn't flow from you, from the sort of center of your being, that's not for you. You want it to feel natural and good and bring life to you. And so you're going to need to give yourself permission to have trial and error and to discover what is in you that will bring these things out into your world in practical, actual action that you are taking. All right. Happy New Year. I can't wait to hear you doing this. And we do this stuff together in our community. It's called Not Church, and it's a community of people that are trying to engage in the spiritual work and spiritual life together, process our religious trauma, post funny memes, and be there for each other when things get difficult. And so we'll talk about podcast episodes like this. We will be there for each other. The reason we call it Not Church is because someone said it's like church. All the things you wanted from church, and nobody's telling you you're going to hell for believing the wrong things. If you want to be part of that community, patreon.com/skepticpastor. It's $3 a month. It's $3 a month because we're not going to ask you to give a percentage of your income. It's pay for what you get. So if it works for you, great. If it stops working for you, just stop paying. We've got funny, hilarious merch like I'm a deep skeptic, also a Christian. Take the Bible seriously, not literally. Some new things are coming on the horizon. NOOMA community.com/store, NOOMA community.com/store for that. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, give us a review. Give us all the stars. Actually post something nice. All of that really helps, especially the actual text reviews. We'd appreciate it. That's it. That's the podcast. Shout out to the Choir Network, to Patheos, to Matthew and Keith, who make everything happen. Now, get out of here. Go do something to make the world a better place. Okay? We'll see you next time.